So what's up, everyone? Welcome back. So today we are going to actually continue with where we left previously. So I think in the previous session we actually did install all the dependencies. I think you can find those under the toml file. So we were able to install all the dependencies that will be required for this model. So let's see how we are going to now start the actual process. So for today, we're going to start with the data ingestion phase. We're going to see how we are going to ingest. You're going to see how we will be ingesting data, and I will be using. I've stored my data in MongoDB. So in my MongoDB browse collections, I've data already in my MongoDB. This one, hotel discounts. So we are going to see how we will query data stored in MongoDB Atlas. So from here we are going to import data to our model. I think that is the data ingestion phase. So without saying too much about that, so let's see how we are actually going to ingest data to from MongoDB. So first we are going to start I'll just import all the necessary dependencies. So data class, path by Mongo. Of course, we are getting data from MongoDB. Then pandas, numpy, OS, JSON, time, date time, and this one will enable us to. We are going to store our secret information in .env file. So we are going to be reading that using the .env. So that those are secret details. You don't need to be committing those to actually your Git. Okay, so based on that, we'll be storing those in .env. I haven't even created the .env. So let me create the .env. This one will be the I think that one. So we'll be storing all our secret information in the .env file so that when we commit, we are not committing our passwords to actually Git. Okay. So for a start, let's import all the dependencies. No, this one is in .env, so supposed to be in the trial. Yeah. So let's import. So these are the dependencies. Now, once we have imported our dependencies, then we can import the custom exception logger from the necessary libraries. Okay, but before we get into that, okay, let's start. Let's import reservations from utils. So we need to import custom exception and also the logger. So again, from src.reservations utils, utils exception, import, this will be custom exception again from so remember, these are the custom modules that we actually created. So reservations .utils think logger. We're going to import, I think this one will be the logger itself. Yeah, so logger. Then also from utils, from src.reservation discounts. I think we need to also import. This one will be utils .commons. Commons. We're going to import the read YAML file, as well as we're going to import create directories. Okay. Then let's start with that one. Okay. Then let's start now creating the necessary modules. So at that data class, then from here we can just create class data ingestion, data ingestion config. So configuration that will store our data ingestion parameters. So let's start with the. So before we even input whatever it's needed here, we need to first get a configuration file, and in this config file we are going to specify the parameters for data ingestion. Okay, so data ingestion.yaml. Make sure you are in the data ingestion.yaml. Then so artifacts, the root folder for that. So artifacts root. So this one will be. We'll create a folder called artifacts. Then from here, we specify the step. So the step will be the data ingestion. So under data, suppose data ingestion under data ingestion. So here we start with the root directory where we are going to store all the artifacts for data ingestion. So it will be in artifacts. So artifacts / data ingestion. So it will be all artifacts for the data ingestion will be the data ingestion folder. Then the database data. So the database name. The database name that you're going to use will be discounting. So you're wondering discounting. So you're wondering So you're wondering where we are getting this name. So under our MongoDB, we have our that is the database name. So that is the discounting is the database name. Then hotel _ discounts. This one will be our collection name. Okay. So let's go back and insert our collection name. So collection name. This one will be hotel discount. Okay. Then I will be importing this data in batches. So batch size, we can also input our batch size here to be, let's say, 2000 records at every iteration. Okay, so we have set our configuration details. So I'll just copy these configuration details, and these are the details that we are actually going to place them here. Then I'll just change this one. We can call this one, this is a path. So we can call this one a path. Then this one we can just say this is a string. Then we can also qualify this to be a string. Then the batch size, can just call this one as an integer. Okay, so we have specified all information that we necessarily need for our data ingestion. Okay, then there's one thing that we also need to input here, and that is the MongoDB URI. Mongo URI. That is the Mongo URI. So under Mongo URI, this is where we are going to now in the .env file. So where is the here we are going to specify the MongoDB. Is it MongoDB? Let's just say Mongo URI. So what is our Mongo URI? Mongo URI, you'll obtain it from here. So just go to your clusters. Under your clusters, you need to connect. So you get a connection string. So under connection string, I could use, let me use so connection string. Let me use compass. Then you just copy this link. So this link is the one that you're going to actually insert under Mongo URI. You need to insert your link here. So remember, you have this part here, DB password. So remember, this is where you need to insert your password. So this is the password to your MongoDB, password to your MongoDB cloud. No, I think this is the password to your MongoDB account. So you need to make sure you place it here. Then you're going to call this connection string so that you're able to actually import data. So I'm not going to share mine, but I'll insert it. Then from there, we'll see how this process actually runs. Okay, so we have set our .env file. So the reason as to why we are using the .env file is because this string, we can consider this as a secret or a password, something like that, because we don't want to share this with our when we commit our code to Git. So So we can just ensure that we have the .n file. All our secret information is in the .n file, so that when we push this, let's go to the gitignore. So under gitignore, we have this file .n. Let me look for it. Yeah, this one here. So this one is the environment and all that. So instead of actually pushing this information to your Git repo, then under gitignore, we're going to ignore committing this file to your GitHub repo. Okay, so make sure you just change this to your password. Okay, so we have set up our this is the Mongo string. Okay, so once we have done this, then we start now with the class configuration manager that's going to read this information and collect the necessary information that we have stored under these various configuration files. Also, there's something that I'm missing under the config file. So under our data ingestion, yeah? No, I think we have specified everything under data ingestion. We have specified artifacts discount. Yeah, no, there's no problem. So let's continue with our data ingestion and start so create another class. Let's create another class. So for this class configuration manager. Supposed to be class configuration configuration manager. And under this, then remember we need to initialize this class. So dev __ init __ that. So we have the self, then we have the now the data ingestion config. This one will be then we need to specify now data ingestion data ingestion config file path. So again, where are we getting our data ingestion config file path? So under our config entity, under our constants, we have the init. So here is where we are getting our data ingestion config file path. So this one is where we are going to set our configuration. From here, we are going to so we have get the path to where we have stored our data ingestion config YAML. The reason as to why I'm using this is because you might be using different configuration details or the path to configuration details. Sometimes these configuration details can be secret information that you don't need to be sharing. So for that purpose, now we can see the configuration details are actually outside my SRC file. I think for that entire purpose, because we might be sharing different ways of handling configuration data. So that's the reason as to why I've placed that outside the SRC file. Then for that reason, then we can just specify the path like a variable, and this variable will now denote where we are actually storing our config details. Then it will just follow that path, then extract information that we have specified under the data ingestion YAML file. Okay, so this is where I'm getting the data ingestion config file path. So I'll just copy this one, then I'll paste it here. So this one is the file itself. Okay, then we need to also import this one. So again, from SRC, this is a custom module, remember. So again, from SRC dot reservation discount. So this one you are getting it from config constant. Yeah? SRC dot, I think we are dealing with constants. So constants. So under constants, we are going to import data ingestion config. Yeah, data ingestion config file path. So that one is this one here. Then now we can continue. Then can now use our try block. So just say pass Then here we can now use the except, that is the exception as exception as E. Then accept exception as E. Then we can say can just log an error here. So log.error. You can just pass some information here and say that there's an error initializing configuration manager. Okay. So then now we can just get this one. Okay. Then we can erase custom exception, then ESYS. Okay. Now let's fill whatever is needed under the configuration manager. The first thing that we need, we can start with a logger.info. Then we can specify and say that we are actually initializing the configuration manager. So initializing the configuration manager. So we are initializing the configuration manager. Then this one will be data from data ingestion config. So initializing the config manager. Then self so ingestion config. So from here, that's why we are going to read. Okay, let me do this. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to read that YAML file. Okay, so read the YAML file. So the YAML file, we need to pass this because we need to pass this. This one we are going to pass in here. So how are we going to access that? So again, self dot. Then I just use another ingestion config. So how are we going to do that? Then okay, so data ingestion config supposed to be config is okay. Okay, so data ingestion config. Okay, so self. Then from here we need also to create directories. So create directories. So now this one, I think we just use self dot ingestion config. Then inside here, we now pass our artifacts. Artifact root. And after this one, you can now use another logger.info and say, once you have done this, you can just say that config info and yes, created successfully. Okay. So what are we missing? We need to import sys. Just say import sys. That's why, this one's okay. Data ingestion config. Okay, so that is the configuration manager. So we need to create an object for this one. So say that if get data ingestion config. So get data ingestion config. So that's the self. So this one is the I think it's the object. Is the object and say data ingestion config. From here again, go with our try except. So try config self dot ingestion config. Then we pass in our data ingestion. So data ingestion, this one here, so that we note that we are in our data ingestion. Then create directories. This one, assume that is data config. Then we'll be creating the root directory. So the root directory. I don't know why are we getting errors. No, it's no problem. Then Mongo URI. So this is where we now get Mongo URI. So os dot environ dot get. So this is a get request. Then we pass in the Mongo URI. Okay. So once we have obtained the connection string, now we can just do a shortcut here. Then we can return. So what are we going to return? The data ingestion config. Data ingestion config. So this will be the object that now contains all the information. So we have loaded all data into this configuration. So from here, root directory, so it will be data config, then root directory. Then from here, then we'll say database name be data config, then database name. I think it's just a repetition. So it will just press the collection name as the collection name, batch size. The batch size Mongo URI is the one that we're just obtaining it directly from this one here. So then from here, we need to get our accept. So accept exception E. Then we use we're just passing the logger information. Then I think this one will be so Mongo URI be Mongo URI. URI. I think this one. Yes. Okay. Now, once we are done with that, we can now start. We can now create. Now, let's create a class for establishing that MongoDB connection. Okay. So class. Class MongoDB connection. MongoDB connection. The class to establish that connection. So this class will actually handles the MongoDB connection. Def underscore init. So what are we specifying as our parameters? So that is the URI, the database name, and the collection name. The collection name. So once we put that, then just say self self dot URI. What is the URI? Then again DB name. That is the DB database name. Then again the collection name. Collection name. Collection name. Then sometimes you need the client, but I'm not using that for today. So client, that will be there. Just say none. Yeah, I think this one is okay. So we need to establish a connection. So for this one, clients. Our client is Mongo client. This one is going to take the URI. So this one is all about us establishing that connection. Okay. So self.db, something I need to pass in here. Say self.db. This one none, then the collection. Then none. So self.db, that is the self client. So this one will be the database name. Okay. So db database. So this database, I think the database name. Yep. But there's something here. Something like a list. Self client, small client. No, this one. Just okay if we use this. Self database name. For the collection, self.collection. The self.db. Then we pass in our collection name. Then from here, I think I can just now use a logger information. So logger.info. It says something like connected to MongoDB database. So that one is about establishing that connection. Now, once you have established our connection and we have actually retrieved our data, we need to close that. So again, I'll say def exit. Val, then this one is so if self.client, so self dot, so this one we are going to close that connection, and from here again logger.info and say something that MongoDB connection closed. So we have opened our connection for that, and we have also closed connection. Okay. Once we load our data, we close that connection. So then we can now start the class, the data ingestion class that will actually do the actual data ingestion. Okay. So that's the data ingestion. That's data ingestion. So dev __ init. So that's the self. Then config. We take the data ingestion. Data ingestion config. And self.config. This one to access that. Then this one is for the Mongo connection. That is the MongoDB connection. Then config Mongo URI. Mongo URI. There's a comma here. Then database name and the collection name. So config. This one will have the database name. Then config. This one we have dot collection name. I think that one is okay. So now let's start importing our data. So let's import data from MongoDB. So def import data from MongoDB. So let's start. So the start time, that when you started the process, that's why time now comes in. So time.time. So that's the starting time when you started importing the data. Then start timestamp. Timestamp, that is the date time now. So that's now at the current moment. Now initiate our try block. Then logger .info. Then what are we going to say here? Starting data ingestion. Data ingestion. So when you're starting our data ingestion, so again, you can use a with statement. So with the Mongo connection as collection. And then all data, so all our data self dot. So we are going to fetch. So I'll use a function here, fetch all data in our collection. And then if all data empty, then we can use a warning. Okay, so logger dot warning that no data was found in MongoDB. No data was found in Mongo. No data was found in our database. But then we're going to return. If now if we get something, so that data that we're going to get from MongoDB, we need to clean it. So I'll create a new function that will be cleaning that data. So maybe just doing away with the unique data and all that. Okay. So I'll create a new function that will be used to clean the data. So data. So I'll just pass in the whole data. Then on top of that, then what is our output path? So output path where we're going to save our data. Okay, we'll have another function to save data. After we have cleaned that data, we need a place to save that data. So that will be the cleaned data. So we are taking all data and using a function clean data to clean that data. And once we have cleaned our data, we're going to take that cleaned data and then provide an output path where we expect to save our cleaned data. Then other things that we're going to save as metadata, that is the get a new function metadata. In this function we'll have our start time, then start timestamp, and then we'll also have the length of the cleaned data. Then it also takes the output path. Once this is done, we can now use the logger.info. And what are we going to say here? Data ingestion completed successfully. Okay, and from here, close this with our except block. So this one will work. Okay, so now let's create all these functions. I think you have the fetch all data function, we have the clean data function, we have the save data function, and also the save metadata function. So let's create these functions bit by bit. So here we don't call them functions, we'll call those as methods. So let's start with the first method, which is about fetching all data. So def and fetch all data. So we're going to fetch that data, the self, then collection under this. So what are we? Just use another type hint. So what are we going to return? That will be a data frame. So we are going to return a data frame. So let's start. Then I use a try block. So logger.info. What are we doing? Fetching data from MongoDB. Fetching data from MongoDB. Equals to 3. That one is okay. So here, at this point, this is where we're going to use the batch size. Okay. So first we need to import, look for that the batch size. So batch size self.config batch size. That's the batch size. Then we'll get an empty list that will store our data. So self batch size fetch all data list is supposed to be empty list like this. Okay, so use cursor with the for memory usage. So cursor, that's the collection dot find. So under this, there's something we don't need. So I think that is the ID. So that's the underscore ID. Don't need to import that. This should be in a dictionary. Then batch size. Let me pass in our batch size. So for document in cursor, data list dot append document. Supposed to be collection, if I'm not. Yep, that one's okay. Document. So here we are going to process data importation in batches to avoid memory issues. Here again, if length, then we need to specify the length of that is data list is greater than or equal to batch size. What are we going to do here? So df batch pd dot data frame data list. Then if combined df not in locals, then here what you're going to do, combine the df the df dot batch, else combine the df. So pd dot concat, then combined df then df batch, then to ignore index, and from here data list, that one is okay. That also continue process any remaining documents. So data list df batch pd dot data frame data list then I think this one is, we're just going to repeat the same things. So this one is for the any additional documents that you're supposed to get. So this one, I think, if supposed to see, maybe there's some issue with the alignment. Data. I think it's okay. When we did import, this one is for the importation, this one is for fetching all data. I think we're okay. Then once you have imported data, we need to clean that data. So clean data, that is id data frame. So again, type hint. So we are going to return another data frame. So again, I'll use the try block. So for this one, let me just think I've written this code. Just this. So what we are doing here is that we are creating our function clean data. So this function is going to do the initial data cleaning processes. Okay. So there are some things that we want to do with our data. The first thing is to remove columns with the zero variance. So this one is where we only have one unique value within your column. So we want to do away with those columns because they don't add any value to our analysis downstream. So we want to do away with those columns. Then you're going to drop columns with the zero variance. So once we identify, we drop those columns with zero variance, then drop columns with the zero variance. Then this is just a logging message to tell us that we have actually dropped these columns. Then after that, we need to identify columns with the unique values. Unique values is like a column like having an ID. ID, we expect the names or an ID column to be having unique values. Again, we don't need those values in our data. They want to be important downstream. Again, we identify those columns and then we drop those columns. Then after we have done with that, we replace infinite values with a none, not a number. Then I think we replace those with not a number. Then after that, we drop all rows that contain not a number. Then after that, we have done with the data cleaning process. So under data cleaning, just know that we are removing columns with zero variance, columns with the unique values, then replacing infinite values with the not a number, then we drop all those columns. After that, we log in that message. Then after that, let me just copy this so that at least we can go a little bit faster. Another thing that we need to do is to make sure that we save our information. Okay, so this is supposed to be here. this. Then this one. Yes. Then after that, we need to save our data. So we are saving our data. Then this is the root directory where I will create the root directory first. Then the output path, I think you remember that. So we are going to now specify the output path where we are going to save our data. Then this is the name of the data that we are saving. So hotel reservation.paquets. So our data will be saved as a paquet file. So df.paquets, this is just converting it from a pandas data frame to a paquet file. Then we just log that information. Then in terms of the metadata that we are saving, so that we have the start time and the end time. Then duration in terms of seconds. So time minus the start time. So we want to find the duration in terms of seconds on what is the amount of time that we use to actually import our data. So then the total records, that is the length. So what is the length of our data? Then the data source, that is the collection name where we are getting our data. And this is just the output path. So for the metadata, output path, I think I will be storing our metadata, and metadata will be stored in a JSON file. So this is the name of the JSON file for that. Then with open, we're going to dump that. So we're going to dump the metadata in a specific file, the root directory. Okay. Then this is just the if else block, how we are going to execute our code. So this one has to be, that one is okay. So I think that's it. I think we are done with this one. This is how we can actually import create the necessary files. We just try to expand this. This is our data ingestion. So we are importing data from MongoDB and doing all this. So I'll leave it at this moment. So tomorrow, when we start this session, I'll try to first let us execute this code. Let us run it so that we see if we are able to import our data. Then we can start from there, where we can continue with the data validation process. Okay. So I think that's it. That's it from me today. So let's meet tomorrow. Go through this code, try to see if it will work on your side. Then tomorrow we'll start from here, execute it, see if it will run. Then from there we start. I think we'll move on to data validation. So until next time, I'll see you.